as an example, 65,000 in revenue, but they spent 110,000 in 1 month. And then when you look at everything, it was 1.26 million in revenues, but expenses were 2.46 million. Like I said, I'm not a math person, but I do work in government. I haven't gotten printer ink in 3 months because our budget is tight and I'm not allowed to request it. So it's just kind of disturbing to me to see that trend, and it worries me that we'll be broke by January, and a $5.2 million rand's not gonna fix that. The only thing that's gonna fix spending is to quit spending. The other couple things I wanted to mention was I appreciate that the community is as involved as they are and is encouraged to be involved, but I will say, as someone who's been regularly attending the comprehensive planning meetings, it is rude and disrespectful of staff present at those meetings to be as disrespectful as they are to people who are trying to learn and grow and figure out what our county's doing. And I find it very disheartening that the Board of Supervisors wants respect, and obviously, everybody should be respected, but the citizens aren't always respected in the same manner. And lastly, I just want to mention the District 1 Town Hall that was held on Friday. I want to thank Mr. Patterson, Mr. Rogers, Ms. Venable, IT staff for doing that on a Friday. And I also want to thank Mr. Hill for being present and being there and hearing our concerns. It was very refreshing to see that commitment to your community. And I know I personally appreciated it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other people did. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moreno. The next person we have is Mrs. Doreen Billingsley.
I'm very glad to see that the diode rezoning request has been withdrawn, thanks to the wonderful involvement we've seen from our citizens. This should allow the board to focus fully on our financial situation. Last month in my comments, I noted that the spending rate indicated by the first quarter appropriations would result in nearly $4 million overrun for the year. I had a few questions about that spending, but I have not been given answers to any of the questions so far. Now, we have completed the first month of the fiscal year, and the performance seems even worse. On a $24.8 million budget, we have already spent $2.5 million. At this spending rate, we will exceed our budget by $4.7 million. As I mentioned last month, some of this may be explained by calendarization of expenses. Maybe there are higher expenses in the beginning of the year, and we're expecting to spend much less in the later part of the year, but no explanation of that kind has been given. I fear that with each month that goes by, we will continue to add to the overspend. Considering the Board of Supervisors' track record over the past few years, I think it's reasonable for the community to be concerned. I think the Board of Supervisors owes the citizens robust reporting on spending and plans to claw back our general fund balances. Keep in mind that if we do spend the whole budget, we will not have made any progress to pay back the second $5 million payday loan. And at the current spending rate, we'll be adding $4.7 million to the payday loan, making it more like $10 million next year. Wrong direction. In addition to my questions from last month, which I still expect to have an answer to, here are a few more questions. On this month's revenue update, which we'll see, I guess, later, unless it's been changed, the budget column does not add up to the amount shown in the total line. The figure seems to be overstated by $500,000, $525,000. Was a line item omitted from the chart, or was there a math error? 2, can we add a column that shows the annualized spending rate for each of the line items? And 3, could you include an explanation for each line item where the spending rate is over budget, so we can understand that? 4, what's the plan for paying back the $5 million RAN? And 5, what is the Board of the Supervisors and the county administrator doing differently to avoid blowing the budget, as has been done for the last several years? Now, we're about to put a bow on August. So we are almost 1/6 of the way through the year, and we have yet to see an improvement, a plan for our financial situation. Each month goes by with the same playbook as previous years, making recovery even harder. The ship is sinking, and nobody even seems to be bailing. Please start communicating with us on this very vital issue. Thank you.
Ms. Terry Hogan.
Thank you. I'd like to start by thanking you for giving the citizens a voice, because I believe that it was our shared voice that made Diode realize their games and their chicanery, their disrespect was not going to work with you and with this county. So thank you for giving us a voice. I love the people here because they took themselves out of what they could have been doing to focus instead on learning about data centers, and we can be more involved in a helpful way going forward with any data centers that may continue to petition for space in this county. We can do it in a good way, but we have to be open. I have a concern about one of the elements of the allowances for data centers, and that is what's termed as the by right use. And I would like to recommend that we look at that and have a different way going forward to ensure that it is us, we, the county, that make those determinations, rather than people coming in petitioning for access to our county resources. Thank you.
Ms. Tracy Floyd. Mr. Jared Klein.
Sorry, I'm tall. Evening, gentlemen. Appreciate everyone who's wearing the red shirts tonight. If you would like one, we do have extras. We didn't know about the data center, revoking their application when we put in that order, but if you gentlemen would also like one, happy to give one as well. I will say, finally, I had a good night's sleep, right, over these past few days. The data center pulling their application, just the weight that has dropped from our shoulders as a community. It's really relieved that, now we can move past this moment and hopefully build. I would like to, also share with y'all, like if you think about attendance at your meetings prior to the data center, it was probably a couple handful of individuals, but now we're still here. And I think that's because it speaks volumes to that the folks here in this room want to contribute, want to support the county moving forward. They're involved. It may have been because of the data center nonsense, but now we are here to help support y'all moving forward. I know a lot of these comments may seem like they're, but really it's from a place of like a heart where they care, right? So one of the things mentioned during Mr. Patterson's town hall meeting last Friday was citizens from District 1 putting their efforts, their skills, their labor, their knowledge, and volunteering for the county. And one of those things I've thought up, if data centers are coming to Charles City County, right, that is something that has been remarked multiple times. Well, perhaps there are a bunch of volunteers, perhaps a couple of these red shirt folks, that would volunteer their time and efforts and so forth to discuss where's a good location, right? What's a good tax rate? Put research to paper to policy, right? And so on. So happy to volunteer for that committee. Don't want to lead it, but definitely thought that was a good idea. I also second Lloyd Carter's remarks about reevaluation of the Roxbury Industrial Corridor. That has been on the papers since the 1970s. We've shown on multiple maps that area, its actual footprint from where it was back then to where it is now. That area should be a residential corridor, right? It is boomed while this overall county's population has stayed the same, right? We should be talking with developers about increased, people in that part of the county, especially as it's close proximity between Williamsburg and Richmond, and right off the New Kent, I-64 highway. Anyway, glad the data center is, or at least the Diode data center is in our rearview mirror, hopefully. And we'll be back next month and the following month and so on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Mrs. Amy Klein?
Hello, good evening. I'm speaking as an individual. Again, also want to echo what a lot of people said. Very happy the Diode data center didn't go forward, but it did get me thinking about what we can do to prevent similar things like this happening in the future here. One of the residents at Mr. Patterson's town hall did mention that from a company's perspective, Diode put a lot of money into submitting that proposal and time into the county. I do think that it would save both prospective companies that you're looking to welcome into the county and residents a lot of time and money and stress and effort if it was more clearly indicated where they could go. I think there has been significant public opposition to putting any kind of industrial development in that 515 acres area, so I would encourage that perhaps has some support for not being developed of industry, because it is just too close to a lot of people's houses. So I know that the comp plan's being worked on, but that would be my request, is that gets considered. Again, I think it would save a lot of people time and money and companies' money. One of the other residents at that same town hall mentioned a technology zone that we could create so that we can tell future developers where they could go or should go. And I wanted to lend some support for that because I think that's a really good idea to help. I also support that we should re-review the by right of data centers in this county. It seems like we do have a lot of concerns with them going in, the water, the electricity, many of the things that people brought up. So having it as a by right does seem to be taking away our ability to review some of that information. And then also just again, wanted to thank Mr. Patterson for having the town hall. That was really awesome. I really liked the dialogue we were able to have there, so thank you very much for that. And then at that meeting, I believe you had mentioned that there was a financial advisory board that was maybe in the works or being thought about or being created. I think that would be a really great idea, and just wanted to lend support for that idea as well as something I think the county should look at doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Klein. Mr. Preston Atkins?
Good afternoon, Preston Atkins. Since VDOT's not here, maybe y'all can find it when they plan on cutting grass 3 or 4 foot tall on Barnett's and Light Care Road and coming into the road. So something we need to get done. In the first meeting, when I talked to the gentleman, he acted like he didn't want me to call him, so I'm not gonna call him. So what I do is I call the sheriff's office and let the sheriff call when I see something needs to be done right now. So that, and one more thing, I forgot what it was. Trash trucks. I got behind a trash truck on Barnett Road from 106 to the Chambers. The big sign says no trash trucks. Ignore GPS, no trash trucks on Barnett Road. Filed them on in there, but nobody at Waste Management answered the phone. So maybe if you can give us a number we can call, or someone we can call when we see this stuff. The trucks are not supposed to be on the road. I drive a truck. The truck was leaning, trash blowing all off, tractor trailer coming down there. Tried to call them to give them the information off the truck, and nobody answered the phone. So find a good number would be good. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Atkins. Mr. Rob Tyler?
My name's Robert Tyler, and I'm speaking on behalf of a group. There are three things I want to talk about. The first one is the neighborhood facilities building resolution that's on for tonight. Finally, thank goodness, somebody has recognized what an awful deal that was, what an absolute giveaway it was. And I presume it was Mr. Rogers who made that move, because we didn't see any movement on it before he was around. So I would like to thank him for getting on that and starting to kind of claw that back. I think we can assume it wasn't Mr. Atkins, because he stood up here in front of us last December next to Mr. Cota and gave us an hour-long sales pitch as to why it was such a wonderful deal and we needed to keep that in place. Of course, that was before we found out that his niece was clandestinely on the other side of that deal. So I think it's fair to say that Mr. Atkins was not the one behind this. I hope that Mr. Atkins and the county attorney have discussed whether or not he can vote on that resolution, since his niece is on the other side of that deal. I think that's a conflict and he shouldn't be voting on that. Likewise, I hope someone's taken into consideration partitioning off Mr. Atkins from any negotiations between that developer or whoever it is that owns that LLC and the county for the same reason, since his niece is on the other side of it. He needs to be completely separated from any negotiations with that. The county cannot afford another $422,000 friends and family payout like he did with Miss Johnson when she went away from here. The next thing I'd like to talk about is data centers. Thank goodness that deal is gone. It was in a terrible place. But data centers are not going away. They are coming back. We are in too good a location for data centers for this to be over with. So we need to be prepared for that. We need to be much better business people and ready for that. There are a couple things that we need to do. One is what everybody's been mentioning with this by right use. About a year and a half ago, we were convinced by another developer to change the definition of our industrial zoning to allow by right use for data centers. That was a dumb idea. It was a terrible idea, because it gives up our negotiating power. By keeping it as a special use permit, it gives us so much more negotiating power to determine where those things go and what they have to do to please us, to put them in. We've got to change that back. It was foolish from the beginning. We've got people here trying to do a bed and breakfast. They have to do a special use permit. A major industrial project should have to do the same thing. The other is the tax rate on data centers. We need to get on that and be smart about that. Picking a number out of the air is not going to get it done. The tax rate, for people who don't know, is the tax rate on the personal property, so the computers that sit inside of all those warehouses. And that's how counties make money on this. It's the tax rate on those computers, basically. And the numbers are all over the place, and we need to have sophisticated business people looking at that for us. Nobody up there, nobody, certainly not me either, have any business setting that tax rate without consulting with people who know that industry. We need to have a tax rate that makes those businesses viable, but still draws as much revenue as we can get from those businesses. And you're not going to get that by calling Henrico and asking them what theirs is. We need to have business people who know that industry, studying that and coming up with a sensible tax rate. If we don't do that, we're going to wind up with another terrible deal like many we've seen in the last year here. Which brings me to my last point, another terrible deal. The 88 acres that we've passed off or agreed to pass off to the Howards as a data center site, that was an awful deal. We made that deal without getting any valuation, so we didn't know what it was worth. We turned away potential other buyers, so we didn't have a competitive bid. And we agreed to sell it to them for what looks like a whole lot less than it's worth. That's a bad idea. It's a terrible deal. If we went back and reworked that, we might be able to make a big dent on the $5 million we blew through the last couple of years. That needs to be unwound and redone. And we can still do it, and you need to do it, because if you go through with the deal as it is, you're going to wind up with a citizen suit here because it was not advertised properly. You never advertised for the sale. You never advertised the public comment period and had a public comment for the sale of that land. You only had it for the letter of intent, which isn't going to fly in the courts. I think the county attorney might know that the remedy for such a suit where you've made a sale of transfer of land without proper advertising is void ab initio, means they unwind the suit. The courts say this thing never happened. If you go through with this suit and money changes hands before that happens, it's going to be very expensive and very difficult to unwind that. You need to go back and do a real job of selling that at a real price that recognizes the actual value of that piece of land.
Thank you, Mr. Tyler. Ms. Martha Harris, please.
Good evening, and thank you all. I'm representing a group, by the way. Shortly after you all took office, which was at the same time that a couple of our school board members departed our position with the school board, which incidentally, I believe was intentionally done, the county convinced the current school board to enter into a MOU where you all, the county, would take over the school's wastewater treatment facility. I don't know if your MOU is a binding legal contract, as some MOUs are legally binding and some are not. Nonetheless, the school board spent the money that we, the previous board, had earmarked for a new wastewater treatment facility. I will say that I do not doubt for a minute that the school board spent the money wisely. Since the county is now broke, having to borrow $5 million to repay a $5 million rand, hopefully your MOU with the school is binding. Questions for you. Number one, what is the status of the MOU with the school? Number two, since you entered into the MOU with the school in 2024, has there been any discussion between the school and the county regarding the status of the MOU? Number three, do you have a contingency plan to repair the school's wastewater treatment facility that has been on its last leg for years? Number four, is the school board providing you, the county, with updates regarding the condition of the wastewater treatment facility? Number five, are you, the county, still planning to go through with your plan to take over the school's wastewater treatment facility? If yes, when? Number six, what current plans do you have to replace the school wastewater treatment center? Please be advised that failure to have a working wastewater treatment facility could result in our schools being shut down. Thank you, Mr. Patterson, for holding a town hall meeting, countywide meeting last week. Thank you, Mr. Hill, for attending. And a special thanks to the many citizens who attended. All three districts were represented. Also, I applaud each member of our county, all three districts, who came out month after month and provided research regarding DIOD's request. We have shown that there is strength in numbers. I encourage each of us to continue to fight for what is in the best interest of our citizens, our county, particularly the senior citizens and our children. I believe that it was not by happenstance that DIOD withdrew its application. However, it's unfortunate that the county did not take an official position on DIOD's application. As it stands, DIOD can revise its application and reapply, which may result in us having to go through the same timely process that has taken us to this point. DIOD realized that they are not dealing with a bunch of country hicks. Instead, DIOD was made aware that Charles City County has taxpayers, citizens who are educated, informed, experienced, qualified, and dedicated. They saw that the citizens of Charles City conducted the necessary research to refute the county's decision that was made out of haste and with the appearance of desperation. DIOD saw that citizens, taxpayers, homeowners had done their independent research that rebutted much of what DIOD attempted to spoon-feed county officials and the Planning Commission. DIOD gave these representatives just enough information to support their Diod's plan. And when I think back over one of the meetings concerning Diod, one comment made during a planning commission meeting stands out in my mind. That official appointed, he said, "You all can put down your silly signs." In my opinion, this was very unprofessional and hurtful. How can an appointed official appointed to such an important role that has the potential to impact, harm homeowners, taxpayers, speak in such a condescending, hurtful manner? Board members, changes must be made. Your appointees are a reflection of you. While the board does not establish dialogue during the meetings, it would be helpful if you all could answer questions that are asked during the public comment period. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Ms. Thelma Whitehead?
Good evening. I'm Thelma Whitehead. First of all, I don't kind of like the way this is because I kind of like to look at everybody. I like the better over there. But anyway, I just want to thank you, Mr. Patterson, for that meeting. It was wonderful. And those that weren't there, the presentation that that committee did, it was awesome. It was very thorough, very professionally done, and they worked. And that goes to show you when people pull together, what can be done. When you believe in something and you pull together, what can be done. I'd like to thank the board members that were there. I was surprised, I was glad. I thank Mr. Rogers for being there. And I really don't have much to say except for I'm still hearing the cry of the county, and I hear the cry of the people that know what they're doing, that has information, valid information that can help us. And my plea is to use the people in the county that can help us. You know, they get up here and they volunteer their services. We need to use them. You know, if board members, if you just contact them one-on-one by yourself to see where they fit in. You don't have to be a group thing. You can step outside your box sometime. You can't go around in a group having two on your side and one on your side. You need to reach out to these people that are educated and know what they're doing. When they know about finances, and, you know, they get up here saying all these numbers. I'm like, where did they get it from? But these are not numbers that I'm hearing from the Board of Supervisors and what can be done. All of us gonna work together. And honesty is the best policy. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, that closes our public comment period for the evening. Now we're at the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes resolution to participate in Purdue Parma opioid settlement, resolution to participate in Alvagon Inc. et al. Opioid settlement, resolution to approve the FY 26-27 Community Services Board performance contract between the Virginia Department of Behavioral Health and the Developmental Services and Henrico Area Mental Health and Developmental Services Board. Mr. Chair, I will need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Gentlemen, you've heard and you've seen the information on your consent agenda. I need a motion for action as relates to the consent agenda, please.
Mr. Chair, I motion to approve the consent agenda.
Mr. Patterson, is that your motion?
Yes.
Your vote, Mr. Patterson?
Aye.
Mr. Hill?
Aye.
My vote is aye also. Thank you.
We're now at the regular agenda. We have the resolution to terminate lease with MIT for neighborhood facility building. I will need a motion, Mr. Chair, after we have public comment on this agenda item. Is there anyone that wants to comment on this agenda item at this time? You may come to the podium. Mr. Chair, I'm sorry, Ms. Roberts.
I'm Wanda Roberts, and I'd like to know how we're supposed to comment on something we haven't seen. We don't know what this motion looks like. We don't know any language that's in it. Is it beneficial? Is it harmful to the county? Why aren't there links? I know I go through this every single month about why don't we have links when we get the agenda so that we can see what y'all are discussing. Just to pull up something, just like they said with the pharmaceuticals, the consent agenda. There's no information. We don't know what y'all are agreeing to.
Ms. Roberts, to answer your question, the whole entire board packet, including this settlement and the language that goes along with the opioid settlement, was posted on the county website. It's also included with the agenda on the county website. It was also sent out to anybody who gets an email for the agenda. The whole entire packet with this information was sent out.
I get the emails, and I didn't see anything that I could click on to find that information. The website is very difficult to navigate. It's always being moved around. There are people in here that don't get that information. So I still don't understand why it's not provided. It could be listed up there. Is it 20 pages? Is it 1 page? I mean, it's very difficult just to follow everything if you don't have the information, and I'm not finding it.
Martha Harris, and I too am sitting here trying to figure out what is MIT? If we could get a summary, at least a summary on what this is about. You know, I know you all are probably dependent on us to go online and read it, but at least give us a summary of what it is. I'm sitting here and I'm like, what is MIT? Just at least give us a summary of what you all are, I guess you're voting on it.
So I read the agreement, and according to the agreement, I think, and I'm just not sure, I think it's saying that we're going to forgive the taxes, the back taxes that this tenant owed. I think that's what it said, but please correct me if that's not correct. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Alice Stark, and I just want to say that there are still a lot of us in Charles City candidate. We don't have the internet. The internet was not, we were not given the opportunity for it to come through 106 to Roxbury. So when you say it's posted on a website and you can print it, I can't get to it. Even when I tried the number of pages and trying to print that from my cell phone, it's not doable. And I'm hoping that the county will go back and revisit to see where they stopped with Infinity. We have at least 15 little kids on that road to have no access to the internet. They don't have an opportunity to take upper-level college courses. They don't even have a chance to be able to participate in any of the activities, after-school activities, without having to go to a library or some other places where they can probably get a ride to get to the internet services. So please consider that. But once again, I wish that you all could maybe, for those who would like to read this or interested in reading this, maybe do a printout, even if I have to come down here and sit here and read it. You know, I'm willing to do that, okay?
I'm tickled to death that y'all are going to consider taking this lease back. That's a great, great move. But I would like to know what the condition of the building is at this point in time and what your proposed uses are of it and what kind of work needs to be done on it to make it viable to be used again. I think that would be great to discuss that tonight as well. Thank you.
I have a copy of that agreement that's in your packet. And the question asked about the taxes, according to your terms and conditions, Article 3, the county waives all taxes, personal property taxes, and any outstanding for the property taxable to MIT. So you're giving up the money. we're in debt up to our eyeballs, and you're giving away this money. There's $500,000 in the finance report that's missing. There's a $300 from last year's financial report missing, nobody's discussed. Even I know the answers.
I gotta say this again, I'm sorry. Help me to understand. You're gonna waive that from a business, but you're going after people for real estate. You're going after people for their real estate delinquent taxes, but you're gonna forgive a business? Make it make sense.
So I did take the liberty of printing the 86-page packet that y'all got as well, because I don't get internet connection long enough to be able to sit there and read it on my computer, living in District 1. But I do find it interesting where it says on page 41 of the settlement agreement, whereas the property is owned by the county is exempt from real property tax, but the leaseholder interest in the property held by MIT may be subject to real property taxation pursuant to section 58.1-3203 of the Code of Virginia of 1950. So what, was the roof more than what he owed in taxes, so we're just calling it even? Weird, because if I put any roof on my house and I sell it, I still have to pay the tax for this year.
She hasn't been.
Somebody need to make some comments. Y'all need to answer, because this is outrageous. You know, we have the waste management problem with no taxes, and then a while back, the man was supposed to pay taxes on there. Oh, what is the center, social center? Did he pay taxes on that? Remember Bill Cody said, he gonna pay them. Did he pay them? You know, this is, boy. You know, Mr. Hill, in one meeting you said you had some sleepless nights. After this dial thing went away, I started having good nights. But it looked like it's coming back. Bad night.
Lord have mercy. I really wasn't going to say anything, but it says, whereas the Board of Supervisors of Charles City County, Virginia, the board has determined that it is in the best interest of the board and the citizens of Charles City County to recover the use of the property known as your neighborhood facility. But why is it in the best use of the county to not receive taxes from that? That don't even make sense. It really doesn't. And I'm sorry, I keep saying this, I keep thinking this, but Mr. County Attorney, we need a name, because I don't know your name. It'd be nice if you had a nameplate up there.
Mr. Rogers, I'm going to refer this item to you at this time, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. As by way of some background for the Board of Supervisors, regarding the motion that we're considering tonight, upon my arrival, I worked with MIT as well as other county staff to try to bring this matter to an amicable resolution. As everyone is aware, the county maintains ownership of this property, and MIT currently has a leasehold interest in the property. The lease allows for the county to charge or to levy taxes against the lessee. However, we understand that because the building was county property, it was tax exempt during the time when their lease didn't exist, and it could consider to be tax exempt as the county maintains ownership. During the time of the lease, under the provisions of the lease, taxes were charged to MIT. However, under the provision, which is Section 6 of the contract, has been disputed by MIT about what the value of those taxes were to be. So a amicable resolution to this leasehold interest that the county now has with MIT would be to forgive the taxes that have been levied in consideration for the improvements that have been made to the building, which are in excess of any taxable interest that the county has previously had. This is an amicable resolution that has already been agreed to by MIT, so we are anticipating no additional action once the board takes action on this item this evening.
So gentlemen, what we have before us is this agreement in returning this property back to the county, and I would like for a motion as regard to your position dealing with the neighborhood facility building, sir. Gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, I would like to have a few more words of discussion for discussion. MIT Metropolitan Investment Trust, LLC. That's what MIT stands for? Yes. 1, 2, 3, page 40, third paragraph, whereas the county has prepared a settlement agreement with MIT to terminate the ground lease and settle any property taxes owing by MIT related to the property. So settling the property tax, we're not collecting the taxes? Is that what I'm gathering?
The taxes have never been collected, so that's...
Taxes have never been collected.
So if the board takes action on this tonight, we would forgive any taxes that have been levied in consideration of terminating the lease without further action.
Absolutely. This matter is not an urgent matter. This matter can be deferred, counsel? I would definitely like to see the improvements, cost-wise, that was put into the building compared to what is owed. Is that something that's...
And again, this is from what we discussed with the developer. The approximate amount of the improvements is in excess of $200,000 that the developer has made to the property. The taxes that have been levied, which had been disputed, is about $70,000. So the improvements that have been made, the cost of those is in excess of the tax.
Is the developer asking for a difference or?
No, sir. In the past, and again, some of this predates me.
Absolutely.
Well, it all predates me beside the settlement agreement. However, the taxes that have been levied in the past had been disputed by MIT. And so we have not received any tax payments from the leaseholder. So they have agreed to settle this essentially to forego any dispute about the existing lease, and we all are able to walk away without any further action if the board is to execute this item this evening.
Yes,
or
sir.
to approve this item this evening.
So it looks like we can get our building back. MIT is not willing to pay any taxes.
What we represented in our negotiation was that they would end the dispute with the taxes, and we would reclaim we would terminate the lease so that the county can retain this without having that lease and any disputed terms of that lease.
Okay.
So basically what you're saying is the money that they put into the building will exceed the taxes that we would collect if we went that route.
Yes, and I also want to add that while the lease has a provision to allow us to levy taxes against the leaseholder, the county owns the building today, and even if the board so approves this motion, we will continue to retain ownership. So the county owning property, the property is tax exempt. So the provision that allows us to levy taxes is included in the lease. But you could understand why there could be disputes about the amount of taxes owed on a lease. Just to give a family example, you typically, if you rent an apartment, you, as the renter, do not pay the property tax. That's typically for the owner. In this instance, we had a tax-exempt property where, under the lease, it allowed the county to charge tax. The county, at some point in time, did charge that tax, but it was disputed with MIT, the leaseholder. So the agreement tonight allows us to terminate the lease. There is no additional considerations that need to be made. We are able to retain ownership of the building free and clear of the existing lease.
Mr. Rogers, what was their explanation or their reason for the dispute?
Again, this predated me, but the essence of my understanding was because the property was tax exempt prior to the execution of the lease, they were not certain of how those taxes would be assessed or levied as they are the leaseholder.
The leaseholder. So as a business in the county, did they expect to not pay taxes?
I don't know. Well, I mean, the lease, sure, and I can speak to that a little bit. I mean, the lease is pretty clear that they agree to pay taxes on the property. The issue that comes in is county-owned property is assessed, but it's not assessed the way non-exempt property is assessed. Generally, it's assessed based on, we give, you know, the insurer, VACO or VR, you know, whoever we use for insurance, we say, this is our estimate of what the insured values is for the properties. And then, you know, the commissioner kind of treats that as the assessed value for county-owned properties, because again, it's never taxed. So that's not a dollar amount that we're ever going to get. So it's not really, it doesn't go through the real assessment procedure that a regular piece of property is assessed at.
Okay.
So here we have that issue, which is we have an assessed value for the neighborhood facility building that is based on it being tax exempt. So it's not really a real assessment. It hasn't been properly vetted. The second issue is it's an assessment of a leasehold interest rather than the fee interest in the property. So it's, you know, there's two calculations there that haven't really been done and that are being disputed. And that's, you know, so that's what we have to figure out is like, what is that building, would it really be assessed at if it was privately owned? And then what is the assessed value of the leasehold interest in that property, which is going to be a percentage of whatever that amount is.
Absolutely. So where did we get that figure from? How did we come up with that assessment of, was it 67,000 or for far as what they owe in taxes?
That is the amount that had been previously billed in terms of the generation and assessment.
Yep, so they were billed that.
I think, and that was based on just, again, on the county's insured values of properties, that assessment was based on whatever we had when the county, you know, for the county's valuation of that property. So that's what that tax bill, as far as I understand, was based on. And I believe at 100%, not on sort of like a leasehold percentage or something.
Had nothing to do with machinery or anything like that, and that's already, that they put inside the building?
No, and that's the other point about the dispute of the taxes is that even though the lease contemplates it that they can be charged tax, it also contemplates a developed building being open and business being in it, and that's not what we have as of today, nor was it what we had when bills were generated.
And they're being taxed, was this annually or quarterly?
Yes, on the regular assessment and tax billing schedule.
The numbers are different.
Mr. Rogers, I still would like to see the, what they put into the building versus what they were being taxed.
Right. What they were taxed was approximately $70,000, and what they put into the building was approximately $200,000.
Okay.
Replaced the roof and he made $1 million in renovations. That's a different amount. That's not the amount that he presented in public. Ernest Barry sat there and said he made $1 million improvements, plus he replaced that roof. This is a different amount than what's given tonight.
Gentlemen, what action would you like to take on this, please?
Well, Mr. Chair, I would like to get our money if we can, but I would like to,
I'd like to get the building back.
yeah, well, it seems like we're going to get the building back regardless, but if we're going to get the building back with that 70,000 or not, or,
I would recommend that the board approve this item tonight based on the settlement. This is what we negotiated with MIT. And I know that the tax was billed. However, the dispute of the tax bill is not new. And so we are not simply forgiving this tax debt to make a deal. This has been disputed per the lease for multiple years. And so that is, in negotiation with them, that is one of the points where we can agree to terminate this lease without any additional action. They had already disputed the tax bill.
yes. And I'm sorry, Mr. Who do they dispute that with? Who do they take that up with? Who's the first line that they contact?
Again, that predates me. However, when I came on board and looked at this issue, that was the conversation that I had. So I don't know who received all the correspondence, but that had been a disputed issue of the existing lease.
Counsel, if a business, or in this case, where would that business dispute, are you aware, is that,
I mean, typically we go to the treasurer, but this is, again, it's a somewhat different situation because it's a tax bill related to what would normally be an exempt property because the underlying property is in front of the county. So, I was not involved in those disputes, so I don't know exactly.
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
You ready?
Well, Mr. Chairman, after getting the information from our county administrator, I motion to approve the resolution settlement agreement by and among Charles City County and Metropolitan Investment Trust LLC for the neighborhood facility building.
That's your motion, Mr. Patterson. Mr. Hill?
Yes, it is.
And your vote?
Aye.
Mr. Patterson?
Aye.
My vote is aye also. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, our next item under the regular agenda is the SUP short-term rental, SUP 032025. Mr. Gary Mitchell, please come to the podium to do your report on the public hearing at this time.
Thank you, Miranda. Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, Mr. Mitchell. As Mr. Mitchell gives his presentation, board members, you may ask questions at that time as you may have them arise. Go ahead, Mr. Mitchell.
And can you put this up on the screen? There you go. Yes, the name of this is Power Up Short-Term Rental. Next slide. The basics are, it's on tax map 1726 at 6101 Courthouse Road. It's a little bit over a 9-acre piece of property. The owner, him and his mother, they're here in the front. One of them will reside in the property. All agencies have recommended approval with no comments. They did already install a standard VDOT paved entrance to prevent the edge of the road from being torn up from cars going in and out of the driveway there. Staff recommended approval. Next slide. And applicant, like I said, he's already installed the commercial entrance. He has a minor site plan that shows those details already in our office. And he must comply with any health department directives. Next. You see a survey of the property here to to the left-hand side of the property is where the house is sitting. The driveway kind of pours off to the right, and that's where the commercial entrance is. Next slide. Staff recommended approval to the Planning Commission with the condition regarding the entrance. On July 10th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on this request. No citizens spoke in opposition, but there was one who spoke in favor of the special use permit. The Planning Commission voted unanimously to forward this to the board with a favorable recommendation with the VDOT standard entrance. Next slide, please. And if you see, there's pictures of the site while it was still being constructed. They're going to be putting in additional gravel, and I'll let the applicant speak to that. The house had been in very, very bad state of repair. We often had zoning violations there, grass, weeds, accumulation of junk and the rest. And there are some pictures that the applicant supplied to me this afternoon that I gave to Mr. Rogers, and you guys should see those should be being passed amongst yourselves. Next slide, please. And that's the end. Staff recommends approval. Do you have any questions for me?
Short-term rental, like Airbnb?
Yeah, same type of thing. They're interchangeable in the ordinance.
Mr. Chair, are we hearing from the applicants, or?
Yeah, he's here if you can come make a few comments. He's right here.
We will now open up the public hearing for SUP 032025.
Good evening, everyone. My name is James. I'm with my mom, Tracy. We lived in Charles City community for about 15 years now. We live actually right down the street from that new property we bought about 2 years ago. Like Gary had mentioned, it was in completely disarray. In the last 2 years, we've renovated from the top to the bottom as far as new roof, new HVAC, new painting, new appliances, new kitchen, new well. So certainly had some unexpected surprises, but we're excited to start a small business in Charles City. We feel like, giving a place for people to stay gives them, more opportunity to stay here, spend more, buy more, spend to do things, which is great for the community and for the county. And my background is Director of Operations for Resort Management Consulting Group. So I currently already manage short-term timeshare. So this is right up my alley. I'm really excited to kind of branch off and start my own little business with my mom. My mom works for the post office. So we're right nearby to manage the property. And we're well equipped to make sure that everyone's got a great experience. And we're just super excited to be here and to launch it since it's been a long time coming. And if anyone has any questions, happy to answer them.
And sir, this is on 155?
Yes, it's right next to Magnolias. So if you were to leave here, it'd be the house on the left right before you get to it, large brick house right there in the corner on 106. Oh, and Courthouse, sorry, yeah. Thank you.
Is there anyone that would like to comment on this public hearing or SUP? You can please come to the podium at this time.
I said good for the small business person. He got some pretty blue lights in the driveway. I seen it. So I think it's a good idea. Get people to come in to spend more, to buy more, to see what Charles City is about, and maybe they'll want to come in and stay.
I'd also like to say, Tracy Floyd, I'd like to say I do also support this. I had the pleasure of meeting them last year when they were holding an estate sale there at the property. I've been in the house before they fixed it up, and they have done quite a job out there. And also, really interestingly, that property has a general store on it that was the first general store in Charles City County. And it is still standing to this day, which makes it a super cool site. And I also think it's great to have small businesses that are, like he said, bringing places for people to stay, and it helps residents because they live here, and it just feeds the community. We can bring tourism in, they have places to stay, go to Market 5, do whatever they're gonna do, go to the historic sites. I love it. I think it's great. I think we should do more of it. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Brady Moreno, and I also want to say I am really excited to see them come and bring this opportunity to our community. there are never enough places to stay. I myself, I've had horses throughout my entire life, and I know a big population of people go to New Ken all the time, and they're always looking for places to stay. So I think it'll be great that they have an opportunity to stay somewhere like that in our county and experience all the historical things too while they're here. Thanks.
That closes the public comment period for our public hearing. Mr. Chairman, I'll ask for a motion for the SUP 03-2025.
Gentlemen, what you have before you is a SUP for 03-2025, and I'd like for your action that you'd like to take regarding this, please.
Mr. Chair, I motion to approve the SOP 03-2025 lodging.
And Mr. Patterson, is that your motion?
Yes.
Is that, what's your vote, Mr. Patterson?
Aye.
Mr. Hill?
Aye.
My vote is aye also, and thank you.
That brings us to our reports, County Administrator update and Finance report. Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So as I am now about 60 days on the job, I wanted to provide the board as well as the public with an update on our financial operations. So I wanted to highlight a few things quickly related to fiscal year 25. For fiscal year 25, we've begun, as I mentioned at the last meeting, the preliminary audit work with our auditors. They are scheduled to come back in October to conduct the field work for our audit for the fiscal year 2025. I also wanted to highlight that we are in the process of updating our financial system in the early stages, and I wanted to provide a little flavor with the Atari screen that you see there on the slide. This upgrade is necessary. We have a system that is antiquated and will be reaching the end of its useful life, and that will help us not only to better have the system that we can use for staffing purposes, but it will also help us to produce reports that we can put out for the public. The next slide. So note on the next slide, what you have before you is a cash-based report. What I wanted to provide is information related to our July financial operations on a cash basis. I will note that the revenue column on the right somehow got compressed, and so the $500,000 that you see that is not adding to the total of the 24 million is actually the public utility fund. You can see that on the expenditure side, but some kind of way we got transposed there on the slide. So what you see before you is the cash basis of the revenues that have been collected during the month of July for fiscal year 26, as well as the expenses that have come out of the funds for the month of July. This is a cash basis report, and as the board is aware, our revenues as well as our spending is not the same from month to month. Our revenues peak when we have our 2 tax collection periods, and our expenditures peak based on different operations throughout the year, many of which are seasonal as well. So this is supposed to be a report that shows the cash basis and gives us an idea of where we are in terms of our spending. I also want to remind the board that we are still in the modified accrual period for fiscal year 25. That modified accrual period will end on August the 31st. That is the report. Open to any questions that the board may have.
Gentlemen.
Yep. So Mr. Chair, so Mr. Rogers, this is the 2.5 million that Ms. Billingsley has stated that we have already spent in our first month or so. Is that what this report is showing in our expenses? 2,462,000?
That's correct.
957.03 cents?
That's correct.
Okay. And if this were to be a trajectory, where are we? We're off to a bad start?
This is not a trajectory.
Okay.
This is a cash-based report, so this is simply showing expenditures. To do a trajectory, that would be more appropriately done on a quarterly basis, and that's something that I can provide to the council, to the board on a quarterly basis, but this is simply a cash basis. This is a recording of the expenditures that occurred in the month of July for fiscal '26.
Gotcha. Yeah, and it's not even reflecting all of the departments, correct? Or is it?
So this report is showing by fund. So most
Okay.
of our departments are, their expenditures are in the general fund. But again, what I wanted to do is, as I've been on board for about 60 days, I want to provide information on our financials because we are taking it seriously. We are monitoring it. We have measures in place to monitor spending. At the last meeting, I mentioned that all expenditures that exceed $999 dollars require my approval. We are following the Virginia Public Procurement Act. We are working to make sure that our expenditures are in line with what is budgeted. And it is not possible for agencies to exceed their budget. The board can amend and adjust the budget, but it is not possible for agencies to exceed their budget. So this is not a financial report that includes any projections for the future. This is simply a measure of transparency to provide a cash basis reporting for the month of July.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
So what you have is actual dollars spent for the month of July.
That is correct.
And to show a straight line projection on it would show an excessive amount of funds being spent if you did a straight line projection.
I would caution against that entirely because, for example, if we look at revenues, the revenues for July would not include our major real estate tax collection, for example. And so it would not be appropriate to make that same type of analysis on the expenditure side as well, because I try to use an individual example. An individual that works a job that has their salary, they get paid often in equal increments based on if they get paid once a month, their check is going to be the same once a month. That is not the nature of the expenditures for an organization with this complexity. So expenditures as well as revenues fluctuate from month to month. So as you stated, both Mr. Patterson and Mr. Atkins, this is an accounting of the expenditures and revenues on a cash basis for the month of July.
So this reflects actual expenditures for 1 month.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Now, Mr. Chairman, we've reached the point of the meeting where the board comments will be taken.
Gentlemen, any comments?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I would just like to thank all the citizens, because the last year has been very trying. And I would just like to thank the citizens for their involvement and their research and sharing of information. We do hear you, and we just want to thank you. And I want to thank Mr. Rogers for stepping into a tough situation and doing a very, very good job, and for his report, to keep the transparency. And just want to thank him for the job that he's doing. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, Mr. Rogers, I definitely do, although it's not set, we don't have a date set, but I definitely do look forward to our meeting, not one-on-one, but for the open, our meeting regarding our finances. And we can get some of these questions addressed, especially these great questions that Ms. Billingsley brings up, as long as with Mr. Hopke and most of the citizens here. And I do see the director's report. And I've read the director's report and I read your challenges, the ones that are in here. I didn't receive a director's report from all the departments this month. But the ones that I do have in here, I believe some of these challenges are easy to overcome. I believe most of these challenges are definitely easy to overcome. I would like to, at some point, meet with you, Mr. Rogers, and discuss these challenges that are displayed here from the directors to have that conversation so we could address that. Yeah, that's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, gentlemen. I would like to express my appreciation to the staff for making it timely with our preliminary audit process. And I cannot overemphasize the importance of making every effort in a collaborative effort in working with our auditors as well as our other involved partners in emphasizing with the company that we would certainly appreciate having our audit done in a timely manner, and at any point that we could be notified in advance of any issues that we're having with a timely manner, I would appreciate it, and we could be kept up to date on our current audit status and how we're doing on our audit. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, board members, citizens, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.